So the Piolet d'Or were created back in 1991, so more than 20 years ago, by a group of alpinists, a club, an elite club of French alpinists, which is called the Groupe de Haute Montagne, GHM, as an initiative to celebrate alpinism and to try to broadcast the spirit of alpinism in a broader media beyond the specialized media. And since then it's gone quite some way, with a lot of back and forth, controversies, etc. And 5 years ago we took the initiative to develop a new Piolet d'Or concept, which became plural, Les Piolets d'Or. It became a plural concept, where we tried to open up the dimensions of alpinism even more, and also based on a clear charter which takes as a reference what we call alpine style in alpinism, an ethical way of achieving high objectives in mountaineering. And so I think since 5 years we've succeeded in putting together an event which is a promotion of ethical alpinism.
Yeah, that particular climb, it's on a mountain in northern India, the Indian Himalaya. It's not a particularly high mountain, but it has a very spectacular feature on it, the North Buttress, or the Brow of Shiva, as it's known. And I think in a way it sums up the sort of spirit of the Piolet d'Or and the alpine style climbing, in that Paul Ramsden is my regular Himalayan climbing partner, and we tend to research an awful lot, and we came across some photographs of this buttress. We asked an awful lot of questions of the people who took the photographs, and we discovered that it was up a valley that only one mountaineering team had actually visited before. And so, based on the strength of that, we organised what we rather grandly called an expedition that was actually just 2 groups of 2, just 4 friends who arranged to go out and have a go at climbing this buttress. And yeah, we arrived. Nobody else had actually had a base camp in the valley before. I think it's quite eye-opening, really, to realise that there are areas of the Himalaya that are so unexplored. And then, of course, our aim was to climb this buttress line and to climb it alpine style, which means really that we've just got 2 climbers on that particular occasion, just Paul and I. And we start climbing with our rucksacks on at the bottom, and we keep climbing until, hopefully, we get to the top. But for us, we feel that we're accepting the challenge of the mountain, and we felt on several occasions that it might be too difficult for us, and that we might have to come down. But in the end, we persevered, and I think it was 7 days to get up, and then 2 days to come down by a different line. But the end result, for us, I think it was just a tremendous feeling of satisfaction at doing the climb, but also of pleasure at being able to climb, just the 2 of us out there on a fantastic unclimbed feature in the Himalaya. And the old traditional expedition style climbing was in the Himalayas, involved setting up camps and having porters carrying equipment between the camps and using fixed ropes, and having a lot of people who work together to eventually put somebody on the top of the mountain. Alpine style climbing is simply a small group of people who are not out to fixed ropes or use bolts. They really start from the bottom of the mountain and climb as a man in the street would expect you to climb. Both climbers climb all of the pitches. There's no hanging around on the ropes, or absolute minimum amount of hanging around on the ropes, and you're accepting the challenge of the mountain. There's a much greater chance of you failing, but the personal rewards, I think, of success are much, much higher.
Yeah, I think for sure today the Piolet d'Or is the most well-known, respected award in alpinism, and maybe the highest recognition in alpinism. in terms of awards. Of course, the highest recognition, you could argue, is the recognition of of colleagues. And, but in terms of organized event, probably the Piolet d'Or is the most recognized. And although it's not very well known in some places in the world, especially in the, what I would call the more sponsors-oriented, sponsors-driven areas, and also maybe some people think this is like an initiative between the Anglo-Saxons and the French. I think in the last years we've succeeded by having this very clear charter, which is new, you know, an Alpine style-based charter, very clearly spelled out. We've managed to build up something. Also with the figures we've had as the Piolet d'Or career awards, such as Bonatti, Messner, Bonington, Doug Scott, and the jury presidents such as, well, Stephen Venables, the last one, Greg Child, etc. The credibility has increased and the recognition has increased, and we've, I think, managed to build something which is solid. And now the key question is, how can we open up and develop the communication towards broader public and broader general media? That's the key.
And firstly, why did I decide not to become a professional climber? I very nearly did become, or try and become, a guide once. And looking back now, I'm rather glad that I didn't, because I think it's enabled me to sort of exercise my brain through my day job in the tax office and retain the motivation to go mountaineering, which I personally, I'm not sure that I would have managed to do that if it had been my job as well. But as to how I've managed to carry on mountaineering, and together with a full-time job and a family life, and yeah, all the various other things that I do as well, it's been very difficult. You know, I can't deny that. But what has happened over the gosh, what is it, 35 years or so that I've been climbing in the big mountains, is that it's become so much easier to do Himalayan peaks in the 6,000 to 7,000 meter range in your average person's holiday entitlement. So when I first went, you used to have to spend several days arguing with bureaucrats in Islamabad or Delhi. Now the roads are going straight the way through into the remote Himalayan mountains. It's much quicker to get there. And it is possible to do very good climbs within 3 to 4 weeks round trip from Europe. And that still, in my job, leaves me enough time. Maybe my family would say perhaps not enough time. It's a juggling act for family holidays and family life.